All right, folks, we are live on Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Telegram. Today I have Ed Lee here with me. He is running for Zohran Mamdani's previously held position before he became mayor, and that is New York State Assembly District 36. So we'll be interviewing the next man up running for that position. You're not going to want to miss this. It's going to be some great insight into Mamdani and AOC a little bit, just because there's a story here that's going to tell us that happened. And with that being said, let me let you start off, Ed, and introduce yourself, and then maybe segue into that story you were mentioning earlier.
Okay, sure. So I'm actually, my name's Ed Lee. I'm running for Assembly District 36, which is a story in Long Island City here in New York City, which is actually the part of Queens that's right next to Manhattan. It's on the west side of Queens. So the thing is that I was talking about earlier about, I'm actually the first Republican running for this district in over a decade. And the thing is that I'm actually endorsed, though, by the Memphis co-chair of DSA, uh, former co-chair of Memphis DSA. Her name is Salamander Brandy. Now, the thing is that this activist is actually trans, and I actually met her when I was doing public housing activism in DC. So I wouldn't promote the person just because they're trans, right? They have to have some kind of like bona fides as in terms of they being an activist. But the thing is that actually got arrested for protesting. And then what happened was that um, I went to Queens DSA to try to get some help because her life was in danger because Tyree Nichols had just died and another person had died in custody. And she had some type of like, different things going on with police. So I brought it to Queens DSA's attention and none of them wanted to help at all. Eventually, I just made so much trouble that they sent someone out to help. And it was actually Zoran, right? Because I wouldn't leave until I got some help. And Zoran is the one person who did eventually help. But after that, he cut me off. Then I started to realize that if you look at DSA, they say they're about helping trans people. Can you name a trans person that DSA has helped? Also, I could say that being someone who's been affected by war, being Korean American, I ran away from home at the age of 16 due to extreme violence I faced at home. And the thing is that can you name a war victim? Even a white war victim, right? They say they're all about, they say white people have this advantage. You can't even name a Russian or Ukrainian American who's been a victim of war. So it's not about race, it's about power. And DSA is actually, so let's see what makes DSA powerful. The fact of the matter is that they can say they're about helping trans people, say they're
What does
about helping more
DSA?
victims, they
What does
collect the money in
DSA
our
stand for?
names.
What does DSA stand for? What does the acronym stand for? What is the words for
DSA
those
stands
who
for
don't know?
Democrat Socialists of America.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. And the thing is, I wouldn't necessarily, right? I'm kind of more of a mixed martial arts philosophy. So I do believe that we have like somewhat of a mixed economy. And I'm really
I
not really
agree.
comfortable.
I think that that's true. That's accurate from
Yeah.
based on what I've seen as well. I think you're absolutely correct on that.
But I've become very, just from my experiences with activism in government, I've actually become, for me, it's odd to like really condemn like socialism or communism because I really think so much, I still think it could be redeemable. Depends on who's actually, you know, carrying out, right? Who's implementing it? The implementation is the key, right? Whether you're doing Taekwondo or wrestling, right? Whoever is just implementing it correctly will actually win the fight. It doesn't matter the style,
Yeah,
right? So
you're right. You're
the
right. It
yeah,
makes
but
sense. Like same concept as for example, it's not the first one to have an idea that becomes successful. It's the first one to capitalize on having the idea that becomes successful. That makes sense.
yeah. So my big problem though with socialism and communism that I've just had repeatedly with American organizations is that a lot of times the organization has kind of like a top-down structure. And the thing is that when the same people are holding the system accountable as the ones who are delivering that system, you're going to have very real problems because people can't really hold themselves accountable. They have biases and they have, right, even if they mean well, there's a lot, you need to have independent third-party review. That's just a fact. So socialism really kind of short circuits that. And I've just seen it become problematic. So, and I can't, the thing is that the new guard of socialists and communists, what they do is they say, we can't talk to you. They'll say, like, what media outlet are you from? And then if you don't say something that's like in their echo chamber or something they feel comfortable with, they won't even talk to you. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
no,
talking
I
about?
noticed that as well, and that's a huge problem because like, how are you supposed to have a discussion and come to consensus on ideas when you can't when you won't even discuss have a discussion with people that are outside of certain zone of there's no diversity of thought is what I'm getting at. Does that make sense? I've
Yeah,
seen that that's a common trait there, and it seems like it could be people would realize, oh, that's a little bit self-destructive. That's not going to end well, but I'm surprised people don't see that.
it's it's problematic behavior. And the thing is that you cannot achieve peace without, have talking to the other side. So, another thing is that you could see that work the longest bomb of the incarcerated in state history, the disabled, things like that. But a lot of times people at DSA, and I don't want to blame all the people at the top either. Okay. But the thing is that because the problem isn't really the people at the top, it's the community, because the community is really the true essence of what the organization is. And because they're successful, they have a lot of grifters over there and a lot of careerists who are trying to move up the ladder and who are engaged in all kinds of BS shenanigans, right? Trying to promote themselves or trying to lift themselves up at the expense of others. And it's once again, I work with the longest moms incarcerated in state history, disabled. Why can't they actually work with us, right? The thing is that they say that Republicans right now have an internal war going on over the America First or Israel First issue. But why
I
aren't
don't
the
think it's as big a problem as it's being portrayed to be. It's more like but a few individuals that used to be considered MAGA basically went into did a 180 on the whole, and they're we just refer to them as the woke right now. you know, that's all they are is the woke right, no different than the woke left.
yeah, and they won't talk about any other, movements that are because they're seen as competition, not seen as actually allies. So what's more important, they don't really care about winning. The same thing is true for the anti-war movement, right? They don't care about winning. They care about their control first. Yeah. So,
Control and power. That's what it usually comes down to for most. Control and power.
yeah. And you know what? Here's another thing that's just another reflection. The thing is that being a assembly member, that's the races that you're allowed to know about. But there's a much more powerful position that's more resistant to party leadership control. Now, being in the legislative body, right? If I was running for an executive position like mayor or governor or president, right? Then I would have a lot more leeway. But the thing is that in order for legislators to get things done, they have to have party leadership on their side, or they have to have a large enough coalition to work things together. So it's very hard to get things done. But you know who's extremely powerful that they don't often have primaries for? The judges. For some reason, right, you have a judge that you elect, but you didn't go through a process where there was a primary. Why is that? Because the party leadership is really influencing who makes it past that point to the ballot. So if you think
Yeah,
about it,
no,
there's
it seems like they got a stranglehold on everything.
absolutely. And
And if if they don't give you the green light to be accepted, then you're not going to get it. You're not going to get there. It's just the way it is. But I've
yeah,
seen that
who
as
cares
well,
what the law says,
100%.
right? The thing is that you could
I
see
know it's
Epstein, he
ridiculous.
doesn't have to follow the law. Who's protecting him? The judges.
Right, right. Hmm.
Yeah,
That's what it seems like.
that's exactly what it is. So the judges are much more controlled, but also
Hmm.
freer to act independently, but we're not allowed to really touch that.
It would have really explained a lot of the civil court corruption going on with the APS and the guardianship and probate court, as well as the family court stuff. If we have that many,
No,
if there's that many people, judges that are like that are acting or that are bought off and paperwork controlled, we
here's
should have
actually,
been
let me tell you about
prosecuting
another.
that aspect of it. Does that make sense? Like, because I've seen, I was because we were like we didn't realize there were so many corrupt judges in these civil courts too, though.
Have you ever heard of
But that
something
would
called
explain it.
surrogate court?
Surrogate
Okay,
court? No, I have
yeah.
not heard of that.
Okay.
Explain it.
Even AOC has had problems with this particular court. And the thing is that this court actually is when someone dies, right? What happens to all their stuff? The surrogate court gets to decide. There's a lot of old people, there's a lot of orphans who die, and all their stuff gets taken by the government, millions of dollars, and it just goes poof, and no one talks about it. that's also run by the government. Surrogate courts. You can look it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up and bring it up on the screen for our viewers so they can see it themselves here in a second.
Yeah.
But go ahead, continue. Tell our. I think you may have gotten into this earlier, but go into a little detail about that. You told me a story about how Mamdani was the only person that back before all he ran for mayor that helped you in a situation
Okay.
that
So
lady was going through, right? So go ahead and tell
yeah.
that story. I want to tie this into our for our viewers.
Okay. So the thing is that I went to this event, and the thing is that there's someone named Salamander Brandy from Memphis, Tennessee. And you might have, and Memphis, Tennessee was, I think this was like maybe several years ago. So you remember something called Tyree Nichols. And Tyree Nichols died while he was being apprehended by the police. So the thing is that we know that there's, some out of control actions that are going on in the Memphis, Tennessee department. And Salamander Brandy was arrested. And Salamander, I don't know if you heard of someone named Justin Pearson, but Justin Pearson actually cited Salamander Brandy in his inauguration speech. He's a very well-known Memphis, Tennessee legislator.
That name sounds very familiar. Justin Pearson. Yeah, it
Yeah, he's
sounds
got a
very.
huge
I
fro.
know that name from somewhere, but I can't freaking pinpoint it or
There
put my
was two
finger on it.
Tennessee legislators, Democrat legislators, who were kicked out of the legislature by the Republicans.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Then
okay. That I remember who it is now. Okay.
all
Yep,
the
I
DSA
remember that.
people up here wanted to go and take photos with them. But you know,
Oh, see, I'm not actually. Yeah, I bet they were big mad, weren't they?
well, he got back in. But the thing is that, right? So I have
Yeah, no,
that's some
I know who
significant
you're talking
support.
about.
Yeah.
For me, I remember that was a few weeks ago. I believe, if I remember correctly, when all that happened.
Yeah, so I went to an event in Queens DSA, and I remember AOC was there, and Kristen Gonzalez was there, and all of them was there, right? And I was making a lot of I was saying, are you guys going to help, the Memphis, Tennessee, DSA co-coordinator, what, And they just wanted to pretend like I didn't exist, and this is really a big problem. So I made up a lot of
Bullshit.
problems,
I hate
and
it when people
eventually.
do that and pretend like someone doesn't exist when they're trying to be heard. That's ridiculous, you know? Like I understand where you're coming from. I mean, that's that because they basically try to shut you out of everything, don't they?
Well, Salamander Brandy's a friend of mine, so the thing is that, I need to make sure that she was okay. Her life was in danger, so I'm not going to allow that to just, go by, right? Like,
Well, of course not, because you got to do the right thing, man. That's what that's about. That's what that's what a real person does. And I know there's
yeah,
few and far between of those kind these days, my friend. But you are definitely one.
thank you. I also had, I don't know if you've seen it too, but I also have a town hall with the longest wrongfully incarcerated man in New York State history. His name is actually Otis Johnson. And you could see in the video that I actually emailed Mamdani, and he did not respond. And Mamdani was struggling with the black vote. Instead, he decided to get down with Al Sharpton. Not good. That's the Kamala Harris type of nonsense.
Go ahead. Sorry, I got a mouthful of food right now. I don't want to talk while I
Oh,
have my mouth full.
no, it's totally cool, man. All right, so let me see what else. I hope that everybody who's watching checks out my website at licgop.com. That's like Long Island City, GOP.com. I know a lot of people may have certain feelings about the Republicans. I'm not going to say you're wrong for that, but I will say that not all Republicans are like the ones you see on TV, right? Not all black people like the ones you see on TV. Not all white people like the ones you see on TV. Okay, there's like a lot of people think they understand. They don't. Just so you know, I also have New York City's only third-party independent candidate debates, and I've done this for several election cycles already. I'm sorry to say that I've been in the space for a long time, and the third-party independent space has been completely co-opted. And Jill Stein, we actually have U.S. presidential candidates, including the former Libertarian chair Blake Huber, as well as the mayoral candidates from this cycle's election process, who all agreed that we should have a meeting between myself, Jill Stein, and also a guy named Josh Haley from Green Party Alaska, who's Inuit and indigenous. Okay. While Jill Stein's all there saying, I'm a champion for Palestine, she's literally stepping on war victims and indigenous people here at home. Stop the cap. Stop the lies. Stop the exploitation. I'm not saying that Jill Stein's all bad, but she's not being held accountable, and that's no good. The Green Party, I don't blame Jill Stein. the Green Party leadership and I have many recordings of myself going to Green Party events and trying to tell them about these problems. And because Jill Stein is the star, because she's a celebrity, they have no time for any. I'm not saying you have to throw them in jail or anything, but I'm saying we need to have a real discussion about what's going on here because what you're doing isn't right. So the Republicans are not necessarily better, but they have ballot access. And we could talk about other realities as in terms of like just understanding the electoral process because part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is to really understand and to learn the psychology of someone who's running for this office and stuff like that, and to understand the dates. And right when I help candidates, I can say I successfully got on the ballot. I successfully ran for office, and these are the numbers that I was able to achieve. So candidates are more like I do a lot of work with candidates, so they're more likely to listen to me.
Yeah, no, I've also done some work and some canvassing for some local candidates here in Clark County as well in the past. Also, there's one of them that well, hoping to help win the governor's race here. Upcoming. She's running as an independent, which is kind of an uphill battle to begin with. In a state like Nevada where you have either Democrat or Republican running, usually most of the time standing off. But I think she can win if she plays her cards right. I think she can pull it off. She's done it already twice with two other elections. I think she can pull it off with this one. So, anyways, I'm very much involved in the community and trying to be as involved as I can be because that's how the only way we get change is you back got to participate in the process.
You guys have the voter database?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look into that. I honestly, I don't know. I think we do, but I can't be sure certain on that. So don't quote me on that
Nevada's
yet.
might be expensive. I think I have to go check again, but I think California is super expensive. Um, I think Nevada also charged some significant amount. I gotta take a look again.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on that if I remember correctly.
I'm gonna go take a look. Actually, I think I may have it on my website. I have some tools. Yeah. So
Do you want me
you
to
have
let you
any other?
share a screen? Do you want me to let you share a screen so you can share for our viewers? Maybe whatever, or
Um.
your just a preview of your website, or just maybe bring it up for a sec.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right,
Please.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Screen share is enabled. You should be able to share.
Okay. So let me screen share. Give me a second. So let me maximize this over here. Share. Okay. Boom. Here we go. Okay. You see this website here, right? This is djelf7.com.
Yeah,
So
it's
if I
loading up
go
right
over,
now. There we go. Yeah, we can see it now. Pretty beautiful. Oh man, I like it. I
oh,
like it a
thanks,
lot.
man. Okay. So this is just like a short description about me. Then I click on the logo to get into the website. There's my newsletter. This is my Facebook group. I encourage you guys to sign up for these things. And oh, this is the video I was talking about right here that I want you to watch. It's hilarious. Yeah. This is the link to my campaign website. And you can see if I click on the campaign website that I do actually I click on the logos once again to go in. And then these are the endorsements that I have. And you can see right now I have endorsement from yourself. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to provide it. No problem, anytime.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have
I always
endorsements from all these other
support
people.
my
This is
grassroots
this.
candidates when I can.
Thank you so much. This is Salamander Brandy, the co-chair of Memphis DSA that I was telling you about, right? This guy was also supported by Serpico. I actually have quite a few endorsements. I'm going to be posting more as time goes on. But right now, let me go back to DJL7 and go into the site right here. And then you can see I have something called activist. I have 6 different links here. And if I click on Activist Network Directory, you can see I scroll down to a part called electioneering. And then I have some different tools that can be useful for yourself. And this one says list of cost to acquire voter database information and restrictions. So I click
Oh
on
yeah, that's going to be really good information to know, especially if you're running for political office in your area.
absolutely. So I go to Nevada and then it says it's open. Let's go take a look.
Oh yeah, I was looking at Ballotpedia earlier today when I was looking at candidates that we have in our local elections to see which one I thought was the best for the job, and went to Ballotpedia and read their surveys that they.
Cool. Well, look at this. Okay. So the thing is that Nevada, they charge $20,000 for the voter database. In New York,
You know
it's
what?
free.
You
Like
want to
New
bet?
York's
I bet I could
$0.
hack into it and get it for free.
I hope you do. Yeah. You see over here, it says New York $0. Nevada, $20,000.
Yeah,
That's
that shit's
insane.
hella expensive. That doesn't say most people can't afford that.
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, Nevada's one of It's probably mob operated. They're probably doing some other stuff. Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me because at all because they like to maintain this image that the mob got run out of town, but that's not really true because technically they didn't. I mean, Oscar Goodman, who was one of our previous city mayors, used to be the mob's lawyer for fuck's sake. But people don't ever think about that connection. You think that for a minute that the mob still ain't controlling this town?
There you go.
When he was became mayor, right? Come on, they're just doing it from afar now.
Exactly.
They're letting other people manage it. That's it. It's the only thing that's changed.
You know what? There's a lot of people who are under the impression that, things are just overall, a lot of people like to say Occam's razor or great, and I understand the desire to do that. But the thing is that if you're playing a high school basketball game, there's a chance that you could have an honest game. But if you're talking about NBA, right, there's so much money to win or lose. Even people that are not even playing on the field, right, people that are refs or people that are actually, right, just watching from the stands, they will pay money or the right to have their player, to have their team win. There's a lot of people trying to weigh down the scales because there's too much at stake. The more there is at stake, the more dirty stuff goes on, and the more people are tempted to break and bend the rules to, right? You're not playing for $1, you're playing for $1 million, a life-changing amount. And so this government stuff, which is actually, if we know through the NBA, we know that there's mob activity going on because there's so much money to make and to lose. When you control the government and you control court cases, like which cases get thrown out, which cases don't even get heard, you are going to have high level, the most dangerous people operating to try to gain influence in that realm. So that's just real.
Yeah, sorry, I had to step away. I was trying to find where I put my vape. I couldn't find it. Anyways, but yeah, no, continue. So go ahead and what position that position that you're running for now currently previously was held by uh, current mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. What does that position allow you to do? What are your abilities in that position of New York State Assembly District 32?
Okay, to tell you the truth, it's not that great. There's a lot of the districting stuff is controlled by the assembly district leaders. So it's really kind of locked down. That's why actually if you look at Zoran was known to be an absentee assembly member because he wasn't able to get a lot done because his clique didn't have enough votes to really make things go.
Right. So okay. So yeah. Okay. That's very interesting. So there's not really a lot of power in that position per se, as opposed
Well,
to
the
the
real
mayor who's
power,
running.
right? Just so you know, I've been elected before. When I was in student government, we were charged over $2 million. But a lot of what I got done was undone. So what's the use, right? The actually being elected is not a big deal because anybody could really do it, right? The thing is controlling the election cycle after cycle is the key. Having your people as judges, that's the key. Then you can really get and do what you want. So being in the position of being a politician is like not very well liked. It's a lot of hassle. I'd rather control the elections. So the thing is that I'll be trying to this year there's been no real Republican activity in this sector for over a decade for this particular seat. There've been a couple of people running for council. They didn't win, and I don't really have like a lot of local support from the party leadership because they're concerned, right, about not having control. And I can't necessarily blame them either because every year there's a new batch of candidates who expect the party leadership to do all the work for them, go petitioning, right, hook them up with the fundraising stuff, and they don't want to give back. So the party leadership has gotten into a cycle where they just treat it like a job. And this year they have another, right, and they end up exploiting it because they lose their passion and they become more cynical. And I'm not saying they're necessarily wrong for that, but people outsiders can represent a threat to the status quo and their ability to make money. So one of the things is that I'm also involved in something called Rep My Block. We make the voter database. That's how I know, like right there, like you see like the free electioneering tools that I make available to the public. The party leadership wants the candidates to go to them to ask them how to do it and to pay them. But I'm making this material information free for people like yourself to gain power.
That's
So,
really, really useful for people, for
yeah.
your average everyday layman's person, you know. And I find resources like that, which you provide, like you're doing right now, very, very helpful, especially for someone like me or somebody that wants to get involved in that way and doesn't have that kind of money. You know, that's a very, very useful and very thoughtful service for you to provide to the public free of charge, because like that's where it really counts. I think it's kind of why I founded the News for Us in that for that very reason. You know, to provide people with the service free of charge, like you know, my way of giving back to the community, if you will.
You know what? One thing I realized being Asian American and being actually, disempowered from the war, like I told you before, even like white war victims are not known. The thing is that there was a time in this country when this country would not acknowledge the existence of black scientists. Now we know about Lewis Latimer and George Washington Carver, thanks to the work of activists. Asian Americans have done well in school since the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010, 2020. It's about 50 years in this country. But most people cannot name an Asian American scientist because the
You
thing
know,
is that without
you're right. You're right. You know, I never really thought about it, but you're right though. Do see a lack of you know, prominent people that are Asian in in the different
because without
fields.
political power, nothing you achieve or sacrifice or accomplish can be celebrated or recognized. In fact, your accomplishments are not something to be celebrated, they're a threat. And this is true for someone like yourself as well, too. So opening the door for regular candidates, for people that are grassroots activists to run without the party's permission, and I'm not saying they're wrong for this, right? Because these candidates will stab them in the back and use them and throw them in the garbage. They're not wrong to protect themselves. But
Right, right.
yeah,
At the same time, though, it's a double-edged sword. I totally understand where you're coming from. It's
yeah,
tricky,
I'm
tricky to
strong enough
find
to
line.
earn that. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, bro. So yeah, what is the what are your prospects looking like for that position? I'm hoping that you win, because that would be put you at least somewhere you can make a start at, you know, an inroad into getting into some sort of position where you can actually make some real change in the future. You know,
Okay,
because
so on the newsletter, right? I actually have a newsletter that I showed you earlier, licgop.com. If you go to the very first newsletter that I put out, you could see that I did a breakdown of the metrics of the district. And the thing is that Democrats outnumber Republicans more than 8-1. Not only that, but the thing is that remember that the has been no Republican run for this seat in over a decade. So the machinery of the Republican Party in this district has completely been non-functional. So while the Democrats have a lot of people to door knock and stuff like that in clubs and stuff, active clubs going on, the Republicans have almost nothing going on, very little. And not only that, but within what's the very little that is going on, Queens, not New York City, Queens has 5 factions trying to fight for control of the Queens Republican Party. So it's really hard to to really make anything really happen.
well, you know, the mere fact that you're trying and making the effort, you know, it goes a long way to putting a face to the name and showing other grassroots activists that might want to run that they can and should do the same. I mean,
You know,
why not,
actually, the long-term plan is for next year. There's something called district leader.
right?
And the thing is that for this assembly district, there's going to be someone who, for each like maybe about like 4 or 5 block radius, there's something called an election district. And I think there's about 60, maybe about 64, 65 of these election districts that make up an assembly district. And that assembly district is run by a district leader. And that district leader goes to all the Republicans in the district and says, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And they don't have to do it, but it's very influential. And any election that goes by me, a mayor, a senator, a House of Representatives, anybody wants to get elected, they're going to have to go through me. And I'm teaming up with other people that also have this information, not just locally, but across the nation. And we're making, deals. But the party leadership, who's also in bed with the media, will never talk about this because they don't want other people to be actually able to impact policy. They're paid a lot of money by the advertisers for their influence, right? So they don't want people to just say, "Oh, no, all I gotta do is roll my sleeves up and make these connections and do what I want to
Right,
do."
right, right. No, you're absolutely right. And but that's another reason why I founded News for Us World. Because we don't have any controlling interests. That's why it's a volunteer on a volunteer basis, and it's free by the people for the people. And I did it that way because I didn't want anybody to. I wanted people to know that we don't have any other agenda than to get to the truth. I wanted our reporting standards to be understood to be absolutely airtight in that regard, and so I based them off of common court law precedent
Oh, if I could
standards.
just slip one
Go
more
ahead.
thing in. I also, just so you know, since last time we've talked, I'm now on public access television in
Yes,
Manhattan, the Bronx,
yes, you
and
mentioned
Brooklyn.
that previously.
And if you actually give me a 28-minute episode, I can actually get your stuff run on New York City TV and actually maybe help you expand your audience. That's
That
a
would be
huge,
great. That
yeah,
would be
that's a
huge.
huge trade up because the thing is that New York City has an 8.5 million population and it's larger than two, three, and four, the second largest, third largest, and four largest cities combined. That's LA, Chicago, and I'm not sure the fourth one. But and New York City is a huge market. You put your stuff in my market, I put my stuff in your market. Yeah. 28-minute episodes. Contact me at
Yeah, no, sounds
djl7
great. I think that's a great
yeah.
idea. I think that's a brilliant idea. I would love to. Let's make it happen because that would. I mean, you introduce me to your audience and vice versa. I'll introduce you to mine. I think that's how we should be doing it from the get go. But at least
Yeah.
those of us grassroots podcasters that are doing it.
All over the
Uh,
nation.
yep.
I'm working to meet
Yeah,
you.
just let me know what you need from me, and we'll get it together.
Just shoot me like just as true for everybody watching. Just have like a Google Drive. I have like about like I think 20 or 28 to maybe 30 episodes right now already all ready to go. You could run a whole season, right? But if you just want to run I don't expect you to run my whole entire show for the whole season. You could just run maybe one or two episodes, right? And I'll run one or two episodes of your stuff. We'll do even trade for trade. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a great idea. We could totally do that, and that's easy to do too. So yeah, that's I definitely would like to do that because that would be great. We'd be able to get each other. We basically double our audience by combining, inter networking like that.
yeah. Later on, I want to have like and also you being in a swing state is also very important. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna team up with Arizona, Nevada, get a what was it, Pennsylvania in the mix, right? And we're gonna make some cool things happen.
yeah. No, I can't. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a very very fruitful venture, and very 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 beneficial process for everybody because it's like when you were able to pull our resources even on a grassroots level like that, like if you have any access to cable, to the cable access out there, that's a perfect venue or avenue to do that in. I think that's going to be a really really crucial step moving forward for all of us.
Thank you.
Are there any other final words or any things you want to say to the viewers before we wrap it up?
Oh, there's so much.
Well,
So
by all means, could say as much as you would like. I'm because I'm
thank you so much.
we're good for another at least another 18 minutes.
So being one of the things that I've actually been marketing is the fact that I'm actually New York City's America First candidate. Now, the fact of the matter is that you see on TV or YouTube or whatever, right? All they talk about is Candace Owens or right or Tucker Carlson, but they don't ever speak about any grassroots candidates out
Yeah,
here or any
they
grassroots
don't.
activists out here.
By the way, those two names we consider those part of the woke right. Just FYI, people.
Okay, I really these people are not actually interacting back with you. So
No, they're not. I
yeah,
agree.
and they really, even you take a look at Candace Owens and Blexit and stuff like that, right? They're trying to get rid of that. Now they call it TP Rise. But the thing is that remember Candace Owens was a former video vixen, right? She wasn't really, what's her qualifications? The same thing's going on with Yeonmi Park, by the way, right? Yeonmi Park is actually not allowed to interact with any Koreans anymore, even though she's in New York City. It's really sad. So you can see that the fakeness of what's going on. I'm not saying they're all bad or all good. Once again, no two people can show up higher positions. But as in terms of, I was phone banking for Thomas Massey because I do believe, I'm not saying that he's all good or all bad, but I do believe that right now I do have a special project called UnifiedPlatformUSA.com where I get together cats from all across the nation to agree on things. And we're right now, there's a special questionnaire that's on my latest newsletter where we ask two questions. Number one, should we hold Epstein accountable and all the people that was working with him accountable? And the second one says, do you think that IPAC should be registered as a foreign lobby? And hopefully we could, so far, all the votes were at 100%. And this is between, so far, only Democrats and Greens have voted on this particular topic. I hope Republicans do jump in on this. But right now, we're still at 100% on this particular, that could be a powerful document for the future. Please participate, especially candidates.
Yes, I encourage everybody to do what you just mentioned, participate, folks, because that's how getting involved is how you make change happen. You make your voices heard and
Yeah,
everything in between. And if if you say, oh, well, nobody's going to listen, why even bother? Well, then you've already lost the battle. The whole point is even if you're just making the effort, at least you went out and tried to do something about it. At the very least. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
even if you don't feel like you made a change, somebody that will see you doing what you're doing, and they're going to be inspired by it. I
yeah.
guarantee you. I've learned that in life. That even when um doing stuff that I've been trying to pursue, like as far as on grassroots level, when I've done the work, I found that people have come back later and told me, hey, you really inspired me. At that point, I've had that happen so many times, and so that's a good thing, man. If we can inspire each other to make change in a positive and in a productive way, then all it takes is a little bit of effort.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm really more my focus is, to tell you the truth, being a Korean American, my people are on the front of a nuclear war. My people have starved like Ethiopian people haven't sung for us. And right now we have the lowest birth rates in recorded history. My diaspora may die off. And this is actually concerning to me. Also, just so like I said before about the Asian Americans not being recognized for our work, these are issues that, right, it's not really just, it's not completely racially bound. Once again, right, we have Russians, Ukrainians, they're not part of the
Well, I would
anti-war
say
movement.
it's more of a culturally bound thing than a racially bound, because there's culture is part of that, but it's a different vein than just race.
Yeah, the communications barriers, right, the cultural barriers, these are all things that lead to them being difficult to work with. And what happens is that the pretty people at DSA, right, because there's a lot of pretty people there, they end up forming a new oppressor class. I'm not saying they're all bad or all good, but I have a lot of documentation. They're not helping the longest long incarcerated, the history, the disabled, and what's up with that? All right. So Republican can be good or bad too. And I'm one of the good ones. So come check me out, djelf7.com. God bless. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
please do, folks. I highly recommend you, if you're going to support a candidate, a grassroots candidate at all, America First candidate, support Ed Lee for New York State Assembly District 32. Um, I love the work you're doing, and you keep consistently doing every time I mean, even when you only have a few viewers, I see you doing out there doing the work, and you just keep putting the message out, keep putting the message out, regardless, because it's you understand how important this is, and so I gotta say I admire and respect you a great deal, my friend, for
Oh,
just
thank you.
what I've seen you doing already.
Wait till you see the video that I send you. You're gonna be like, people from all over the nation like came to be a part of that. So, and thank you for being a part of this national
Yeah,
network.
yeah, of course, man, of
Nevada is
course.
very
I'm happy
important.
to help. Yeah, no, it's huge. Nevada's huge, definitely.
They're not charging $20,000 for nothing.
Right, exactly. That's to keep certain people out, people under a
Yeah,
certain income bracket. Hello.
exactly. All right.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
God,
my friend. Thank you so
God
much
bless.
for joining us. I appreciate it, and we'll have you on again in the future. When is the
Sounds great.
election for your position? When
Thank
is
you
the
so much.
primary? Or how long before the election for that you're running
November.
for?
I
November.
get,
Okay.
I don't have a primary. No Republicans
Okay.
run
You
for
don't have
this
a
office in
primary.
over a decade.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I
So
walked
you
straight
got
to the
you
general.
about 6 months. Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks for clarifying. I'm glad. Good to know that. Yeah. Same difference with Danielle Ford, who is running for governor as an independent candidate here in Nevada. I highly recommend everybody go check out her social media and her website as well, because I'm backing her as well as of course Ed here, who's from New York.
I'd like to interview at some point. Yeah, I'd like to interview her.
Yeah, I'll see if I can arrange it.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, buddy.
God
Have a good
bless.
night.
Thank you.